Hi, this is Stacia, and I'm currently studying this position. This is referred to as game ending number 19 in the book Art of the Checkmate, which is right here. And so it's white to mate in 9. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty enamored with this puzzle, enough so that I wanted to share it with you all. So if you'd like to, go ahead and pause your video and see if you can solve this mate in 9. Spoiler alert, I did not solve it, but I'll show you how far I got in the solution. And okay, there's a number of attacking ideas in this puzzle. So, well, and actually this is from an actual game in the 1800s. So it's not necessarily a puzzle. Well, let's take a look. So I think the first obvious move is queen h6. Okay, we're going to move our queen to the h6 square, and we're threatening queen g7 mate. So black now has to stop this, and the only move is rook g8. Okay, now if we go to g7, the rook will take us. And now I love this next move, knight e4. We are now attacking the queen, but furthermore, this is a fork of sorts because we're attacking the g5 square, which if the knight lands on g5, we're threatening queen h7 checkmate. So now I looked at two moves here, but only one is correct. I looked at queen h5. Whoops, sorry. Queen h5 looks tempting, but now knight g5, exclam. And the problem is, and I'll zoom in on this, if the queen were to take, looks like a free queen, right? Knight takes f7, checkmate. Yeah, so we can't do that. So if black can't take the queen, then black needs to defend f7. And as you can see, the queen's a bit offside. So I think the best move for black in this position is probably queen takes h2 check. So obviously losing, and they'll get mated on the next turn. Okay. And now I'm wondering about rook g7. But okay, never mind. Let's go back. In this position, the queen doesn't have to go to h5. There's a slightly better move, and that's queen f8. So queen f8 is a little bit better because the queen has more scope and can defend the f7 square. We play knight g5 anyway. We want to checkmate. Again, they cannot take. This would be checkmate. So can't do that. So instead of that, black needs some other move. And keep in mind that we are threatening queen takes h7 checkmate. And if the queen were to move away, we would play this checkmate. So actually, the move is rook g7. It's the only move. It looks crazy. I'll grant you that. It is crazy, but it holds for a minute. Now, we could win by material. Just take it. But no, this is a mate in 9. Okay. So it's in this position that I actually lost the thread. Now, I knew, and maybe you know this, I knew an idea would be to bring our final attacker into the battle. But I actually, honestly, I probably missed rook g7. Let's see if I wrote that down. Did I even write it down? I did write that down, and then I stopped. Okay. Well, black basically doesn't have many moves here. So let's talk about that, because I think the next move is knight 1 to f3. And to understand that move, you have to understand that black has very little they can do in this position. There's two major threats. There's queen takes h7 checkmate and queen takes g7 checkmate. So in order to stop those, the queen has to maintain defense of both the rook on g7 and the pawn on f7. So if we look at that carefully, then we notice that the queen basically has these two moves. Okay, that's it. Those are the only two squares that defend both of these squares. If we step away, queen g7. So, okay. The other thing that black can do is move their king back and forth. That's about it. If you look at the pawns, all the pawns are blockaded by white pieces and pawns. And if you look at the rook has no squares to move to. Because keep in mind, the rook is playing the role of defending h7. So if the rook steps away, we will simply take. Checkmate. So with all of that in mind, understanding that black is completely tied down here, we can play knight f3. Now, this is fun, okay, because we want to land our knight in a place that is menacing, namely the d7 square. That would be this square here. Okay, so in the game, black played king g8. I think queen g8 is equally good. Tell me if I'm wrong. King g8. Okay, we're going to bring our knight up. Remember, black can't do anything but shuffle their pieces around like this. King h8. And now I'm going to go knight to d7. Now, when I do this, if the queen got adventurous, okay, just like we talked about, I mean, the queen could try to, like, attack my knight, and if I move it, I'm going to get checkmated. But again, remember, don't forget, that queen is tied down to g7, so that's not happening. So instead of that, where was the queen? I'm not sure. Okay, we'll just say this. Queen g8. And now a very important move. I mean, basically, I don't see a way for white to crush black in this position. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I looked at it for like 5 minutes, and I don't see a move other than this one. h3. This is what was played in the game. Now, when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, h3, luft, in case the queen comes out and checkmates us. But I just demonstrated that queen is not coming out. h3 is saying your turn. That's what h3 is. And now the only move is queen to f8, giving the queen away. But what's more than that, it's a remove the defender type situation. We'll play knight takes queen, and after king g8, the only move, we play checkmate. Actually, we have our choice of checkmates. No, we don't. We have to take the rook. Okay, because the rook's defending h7. So there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this problem, and I hope you enjoyed this lazy version of my explanations since I'm not pulling out my computer. But honestly, I think that working over the board and explaining over the board is sometimes very beneficial, well, oftentimes, because it's more 3D, and this is what we deal with in actual tournaments. So let me know if you like this format at all. Of course, I will probably in the future set up a station where the camera is not bouncing around making you guys dizzy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I know I did. So thank you and have a great night.